Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I just want to take a look at the Founders Pack for anyone that's considering buying it. We'll kind of go through what you get. If you're not considering buying it, that's cool. We're going to review the 4 ships that you get included in there in just a little bit. So you might want to stick around and watch that just so you can see what you're going to be up against in case you run into them out there on the high seas. So I think it was $109 USD. So it is a pretty pricey package, but you do get 4 premium ships. You get 60 days of premium time or premium account. 6,000 doubloons, which is the gold, so that's probably worth another premium ship down the line here. 4 million silver. That definitely helped me out when I was unlocking the Baltimore. I think tier 7 ships to unlock are either 16 or 18 million, and then to fully upgrade them, they're like 30 million silver roughly, so every little bit counts. But the premium ships, those are really good at making silver, so that's kind of the appeal to getting those. That's definitely going to help for unlocking those high tier packages as you come across them. I get a bunch of boosters, XP boosters, silver boosters, captains, commanders, XP boosters, all sorts of stuff like that. So all in all, yeah, I mean, I kind of broke down and got it because every time I went to the store to get the free crate each day, it was kind of staring at me in the face. And I've been playing the game quite a bit, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. I'll be playing the game for quite a while, so I figured it was a nice way to support the developers, help keep the content coming, and pick up some nice little trinkets on the way. So first I'm going to take a look at this Anton Gurin. He's the commander you get for the Soviet destroyer line with this. You get a Yashi tier 4 Soviet destroyer, which again we're going to take a closer look at here in a little bit. But this is the unique commander you get with him. He's a destroyer-centric commander, so that's very nice. His unique trait is enhancing the armor-piercing capabilities of your destroyer shells. That one I'm actually using as an inspiration for at least a couple of my other destroyer crews, potentially all of them. I'll have to take a look at it a little bit closer, but that's a nice skill. And I'm just gonna go through these. I'm not gonna read them, but I'll kind of hover over them for a few seconds. If you want to take a close look at them, just kind of pause the video, and that'll give you a chance to see what you can potentially unlock for these skills here. They're all very interesting. A lot of them have like trade-offs, so I don't know. It kind of allows you to really customize your ship. Now the Soviet destroyer line, they're more gunboats. Oops, sorry. They're more gunboats as opposed to like torpedo boats, so they're going to be focused on the gun line once we get this. So like this particular one, increase armor penetration of AP shells. You can pound that with the base trait. I mean, you're really going to be up in the AP penetration with this guy. I'll probably switch this one over once we actually get the Soviet line, just because they're more focused on the guns. But a lot of these, this is a cool commander. I'm really impressed with him. So we'll take a look at each of the individual ships now. Alright, so first we're going to look at the Arkansaw, the Tier 3 battleship with the United States. That's very similar to the Wyoming on paper. They got just minor tweaks here and there between the stats, but the key difference is the Wyoming you get 1 mod slot. Arkansaw you get 4. I'm going to go over briefly the mods that are available on each of these premium ships, just because they're an important part of it. I'm also getting a lot of questions about modifications on my videos, recommendations, and clarifications on what some of them do. So I do plan on making a mod-centric video in the near future. I'm kind of still trying to figure out exactly how I want to do it, but that's going to be part of the beginner series of videos. So I'm not going to go too deep into every mod package here. I'm just going to list them, and then I'll briefly tell you what mod I've chosen for the ship and what that particular mod does. So the 4 slots on the Arkansaw, you have main battery mod 2 and secondary battery mod 2, which are common modification systems. I went with the secondary package. which increases the range of your secondary weapon system by 20%, and it cuts down on the dispersion of it by 20%. That really helps close range engagements, especially destroyers that are trying to come up and assassinate you. So that's very nice to have. Second slot, you have the options between Damage Control System Mod 2, Steering Gears Mod 2, and Propulsion System Mod 2. I personally went with the Damage Control System Mod 2. That's a great one to use on battleships. It cuts down on fire and floods by 50% each, the duration of the fire and flood. So that can really save your neck if you're getting into a tough battle. And typically, if you see that mod available for your battleships, I'd probably recommend putting that on most of them. The third slot, you have Target Acquisition Mod 1. That's the only option for it. It's a great mod though. It increases your spotting range by 20%, increases the visibility of torpedoes by 20%, and it increases the RGA by 50%. RGA, most people probably don't know what that is. That's I don't know what it stands for, but it's the 2-kilometer auto detect range. So an increase of that makes it 3 kilometers. So that's great if you're like on the other side of an island, or there's a guy in smoke that you're closing in on. Those are great situations. That's a really great mod there. And then the fourth slot, you have Main Battery Mod 3, Secondary Battery Mod 3, and then Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2. I went with the artillery one. That cuts down on the dispersion of your ship by 11%. So those 4 mods on a tier 3 ship, I mean those are tier 6 and 7 type packages. So that's really, I don't want to say overpowered. It might be overpowered. It's a great system. And I played 4 or 5 games on the Arkansaw. All of them have been good games. I'll probably post replays on all these ships sooner or later. But I do have at least one saved from that I thought was a really good game. So that's a great ship. Next up, we have the Marblehead. This is a tier 4 cruiser, again with the US Navy. This one's very comparable to the Omaha. It's got the same mod slot options, which is the Main Battery Mod 2, Aiming Systems Mod 2. I always go with the Aiming System mod if it's available. It's reduced dispersion for both gun systems, main and secondary, increased torpedo tube traverse, and increased secondary range. I'm all about cutting down dispersion pretty much at every chance I get, so I'd say 19 out of 20 times that package is available, I'm going to go with that one. The key difference between the Marblehead and the Omaha is the Marblehead has torpedoes that go about, it's almost 3 kilometers longer. It's 8.2 range compared to 5.5 on the Omaha. And the Omaha torpedo reload is 66 seconds. Marblehead, 38 seconds. Now the Omaha is considerably more damage, 11,733 max damage per torpedo strike, whereas the Marblehead is 6,233. So it's a different style of a torpedo. You get them out a lot faster, they got a lot more range, not as much damage. So it's more of a saturation type torpedo style as opposed to the Omaha. And cruisers, not too heavy on the torpedoes. I usually use them more defensively, but the Omaha is definitely going to be more of a defensive. Whereas Marblehead, you can kind of get into saturation tactics and kind of change how the way you play the ship. Now the 4 or 5 games I've played with it, I've just been spamming HE long range, and it's got that great American arcy shots. So I like American cruisers because you can kind of get behind cover and just arc shots over hills for days, and it's really fun to play. It's the Marblehead. This is probably my second favorite. I don't know. It's hard to pick. The ships are all really good, but I'd say it's probably my second favorite out of the 4 that you get. And again, we'll get some replays up of these sooner or later so you can check out in detail. Next up, we have the Waki. This is the tier 3 cruiser, Japanese cruiser. This one's comparable to the Kuma with some key differences. The Kuma has a 40-second torpedo reload. Waki, 72 seconds. Ooh, that's a big difference. But it's kind of the opposite of the Marblehead. The Waki has 16,267 damage, whereas the Kuma has 10,833. So while the Marblehead had a lower damage, spammier torpedo, this is kind of reversed when comparing the Waki to the Kuma. And so this one, I mean, those are some serious torps, man. And the other key difference is 3 mod slots. Again, the Kuma is just the regular 1 mod slot. Waki has 3. The aiming system is mod 0. That's the only option on this one. It cuts, but take a look at this. Cuts down the main battery dispersion by 40%. Main battery traverse speed plus 20%. Torpedo tube traverse speed plus 20%. Secondary range plus 20%, secondary dispersion minus 40%. That is massive, massive improvements over basically everything to do with the weapon system over the Kuma. The second slot, you have the option of the main battery mod 2, aiming systems mod 1, and AA guns mod 2. Now currently I have the aiming systems mod 1, which cuts down the main and secondary dispersion, increases tube traverse, and increases the secondary range. That's always a great, like I said before, I love the aiming systems mods. But the AA guns, that increases your AA fire range to 20%. Now if they ever put aircraft carriers in the game, that's almost for sure going to be switched over to that one. And even against just the current way the game's set up with just fighter planes, getting those out of the sky is important, and it'll cut down on the ability for the enemy to detect you if you can get rid of them. So that's, when I was reviewing these, looking over the ships again to make this video, I was looking at that one like, I might want to actually try that one out. So those are very cool options. In your third slot, you have a choice between the steering gears mod 2 and propulsion mod 2. Steering gears, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it basically increases or decreases the rudder shift time by a fair amount. I use the propulsion mod 2, which cuts down the time to the full power of your engine by 50%. That really helps your ship kind of move back and forth when you're kind of messing around with the enemy, trying to get them to miss their shots. So again, those are 3 very powerful mods, and you put those on a Tier 3 cruiser. I mean, that's a very powerful ship. A lot of fun. It's kind of got the Japanese heat spam meta, or HE, I'm sorry, and then obviously you got the powerful torpedo system that you got on there too. So that's a great ship, like they all have been, and well, just stay tuned for the next one. I think it's the one most of you guys have been waiting for. That's right, it's the Yashi, Tier 4 Soviet destroyer. Now, if you saw my video on the G101 Alpha, you know there is a German destroyer running around right now. It is really rare. I've actually never seen it myself. I had 1 or 2 people comment saying they saw it in a battle or 2. But now we have the Soviets have a destroyer in the game as well. It's this Founders Pack destroyer. Now, the Yashi is a serious ship, and we'll go over that here. It has 1 mod slot, so you have a choice between the main battery mod 2, aiming systems mod 1, and I went with that aiming systems mod again. But we're going to compare it to the other Tier 4 destroyers that are currently in the game. Yashi, most hit points, best firing range for main gun system, strongest high explosive shells with the highest chance to set fire, strongest armor piercing shells by a large margin. We're talking 450 more damage than the US and UK shells, 550 more than the Japanese shells. So we're talking over a 25% increase on the other nations. Shortest torpedo reload time, tied for the longest torpedo range with Japan at 8 kilometers. Oh, and by the way, the detectability range, 2 kilometers shorter than the torpedo range. That's right. So you have a ship that has all the characteristics that are present in what I presume are going to be the highlights of the Soviet destroyer line when it comes out. gunboat centric, strong gun package. But you also have it, you can play it like a Japanese torpedo boat. Just play it purely stealth and launch torpedoes if that's how you choose to use it. So you can really do everything you can in any destroyer in this particular ship. So I don't know if you want to call it overpowered or not. It's certainly a versatile vehicle. It's a blast to play. What's the downside of the Yashi? The only real downside is a very slow gun traverse, and it is noticeable. So if you get in like situations where you have to turn the ship and the guns have to keep up with the moving target, sometimes it can't do that. So if you're trying to counter it, try and get it. I think if you close in close quarters and get it kind of like circling around it, that's probably your best bet if you're able to do that. But if you do run into these, first off, you want to kill it as quick as you can. If you aren't able to kill it for whatever reason, then get away from it because it's going to kill you. So overall, with the Founders Pack, is it worth it for you? I can't answer that question. You know your financial situation, you know how much you like the game, and you got to weigh those two factors. For me, I would say it was worth it. You know, I play the game a lot, and I'm gonna continue to play the game a lot. And the ships that I got in it, fantastic. Bunch of premium time, can't go wrong with that. So I'm happy with the purchase, but what I hope to do with the video is give you the information if you're considering buying the package to kind of make the decision easier for you. And if you're not considering buying the package, then I hope the information on the ships will give you the insight you need to kind of deal with them successfully when you see them out there on the high seas. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Well, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We got plenty more World of Warships content coming up. And if you have questions or comments, leave them below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And we'll see you guys all later. Alright, peace.